back to another weekly video of the report. I'm Gramajo, and let me take you through last week's hottest news in Web3. So yeah, let's dive in. Alright, our top stories are PayPal launches a stablecoin, and I'll dive into why that's really big news. Noble Gallery drops two big bits of news. Base, which is a layer 2 from Coinbase launches, and the Gods fumbled its way through the finish line. All right, so PayPal USD. This is a new stablecoin from PayPal. So why is this important? PayPal is it's not really a bank actually. If you had to look it up because it's not FDIC insured, but it is a payment processor. I'm sure it has probably desired to be a bank, or maybe they want to avoid that regulation, so they don't want to do it. But a good way to think about it with this new stablecoin is that they're trying to compete with XRP, which is Ripple. Ripple has basically been at the forefront of this for quite some time, and they finally won their legal case about them existing and being valid as a cryptocurrency. So the goal is basically to have a digital stablecoin that everyone uses for, essentially to get paid. Because really, at the end of the day, money's just a ledger with numbers here and there, and everything gets aligned. So, as we move in that direction of, not having cash be as dominant. So with PayPal being as big as they are as a processor, they basically handle a lot of businesses right now. So you can use them to get paid. You could do payments in PayPal. So like when you go to check out something, you could say check out with PayPal, makes it really easy for you. It's supposed to be secure. But where I think that they kind of really shine and why this is big news is that a lot of people forget that they own Venmo. Venmo is very heavily utilized within the younger generation. Um, Zelle has came out recently, but Venmo is kind of like the one that gets used the most. It supports emojis and all that. So, and you can get paid in your side hustle either through Venmo or PayPal. So, the stablecoin is pretty interesting from that perspective. And another thing that a lot of people don't know is that they own the remittance services Zoom. So remittances are when when immigrants come to this country, to the U.S., they send money back home. The remittances market's actually a really big market. There's a reason why Western Union is huge and they take a huge cut. And so they make money on converting dollars to your native currency, and they also charge you a fee. So they're kind of making, they're double dipping on the fees right there. And remittances are big, at least like from where I'm from, which is Guatemala. For some countries, it's like 30% of their GDP, 50% of their GDP. So it's crazy stuff. So with PayPal USD, this could make it so when you send money abroad, it's just going to be more seamless and faster. So a lot of things going on the up and up with PayPal launching this. We'll see how the U.S. government reacts to this. Every kind of central government is thinking about making a digital coin of their native currency. So we'll see if the stablecoin that we get comes from a private company like PayPal, or if it's going to come from a government. Only time will tell. So yeah, big news there. Our second story is Noble Gallery. So for those that aren't familiar with Noble Gallery, it's basically an art NFT collective. They basically curate. It's kind of like an ETF of art. That's kind of one way to think about it. So they basically find artists and their holders of their past get access to mint certain pieces from the artists that they've selected. So they've kind of dropped two big news. They're one of the kind of like the bigger collection pass systems out there. But they recently launched their own marketplace. So what that means is, you're not really dependent or reliant on OpenSea or any other platform. You could use their own native platform. It does use the Seaport protocol. I mean, protocols are just basically standard ways of communicating. Seaport was developed by OpenSea, so it's very efficient. It's been kind of audited. It's People can look at the code if they want. So it does use that, but it is the front end basically of you interacting with that protocol is through Noble's website. So fantastic stuff. Whatever happens with OpenSea or Blur or Looks Rare, um, you'll still be able to use Noble. You can use all those as well. The one thing that they are doing to differentiate themselves between the other kind of marketplaces out there is that they will honor royalties for the artists themselves. So that's fantastic news, especially as recently OpenSea announced that they will not be enforcing royalties again, which is another whole debacle. And we could talk about that, sometime next week. Subscribe to the newsletter as well, where I'll talk about that for next week's edition. The other big news that Noble announced is they announced who the season finale for their summer is. It doesn't mean that they're done with this year with curating and dropping pieces, but they do a summer finale, which is basically they pay artists, and then for every pass that you get, you're guaranteed one of these 4 or 5 artists. So if you have 5, then you're guaranteed to get one of each, which is kind of fantastic. But they announced that Delucrez, which I am a maxi of, not financial advice, F.OSF, Terrell Jones, and Xula, which is not pictured, but you get the picture. So basically, yeah, that's pretty big news in terms of some of those artists. Some of those are some of the biggest artists in Web3. There's obviously more. They've done Xcopy in the past and Grant Yun. So, yeah, big news there. Our third top story of last week. Coinbase launched Base, which is a layer 2 Ethereum network. And pretty quickly, a lot of other companies or other platforms said that they would support Base. Obviously, with layer 2, we're going for faster, cheaper, and to the masses. So Manifold, kind of always at the forefront of a lot of innovation, said that they would support Base pretty much from the go. Pretty awesome stuff. To kind of celebrate this launch of Base, Cosimo Medici and DK basically collaborated and dropped a piece called New Era. There's New Era ETH and New Era BTC. On here you can see New Era ETH. Basically $18,000 a pop. You could mint both. It dropped on Base. Over 70,000 were kind of made, which is pretty crazy. It started picking up steam, and it got a little weird towards the end where a lot of social media sites started banning the link or even the mention of this mint. Facebook, Instagram, even Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. And wholesale, even countries like Australia were just completely blocking it as a whole as it was going viral. So really weird stuff, but good to see kind of, the community kind of unite. Mint, it's like, it's for the masses, but it's kind of hard to know if it is really for the masses just because we are in a bear. So it's not like a ton of new people are being onboarded because of this piece or are joining the space right now. So it seems like it's kind of for the same people. A lot of speculation going on whether there's going to be a burn or not. Who knows? But I'm a big fan of DK. I think he has a lot of potential to get popular in the Web2 space. I mean, I think he's already kind of doing that on his own. So, yeah, that's kind of the news from last week from Coinbase. Our final story is The Gods. So The Gods is a PFP project. It's done by Frank DeGods. Basically, they were going to launch their season 3 drop. They ended up dropping it, and people were not happy with the results. People thought it was kind of a joke. it was not a joke. And then it led to this really weird kerfuffle where they retracted the drop, but then they re-released the drop a couple days later. So PFP people, or just the PFP holders of the gods, are kind of just pissed. So the redo recently dropped. It's called the downgrade. I think that's kind of like a tongue in cheek. Frank and the gods team are pretty good about doing a lot of tongue in cheek kind of jokes. I think that's what makes them pretty popular. For those that don't know the gods, they got pretty popular at one point because they created a paper hand tax that was basically put into the contract itself. So if you sold for less than what you acquired it for, you ended up paying a higher fee. Like a higher fee was taken out of your sale. So pretty crazy stuff. It's kind of hilarious. But one thing that kind of stood out to me in all this really is that, between Azuki, Bored Apes, Doodles, CloneX, and really all the PFP projects that, Moonbirds, that were all in the 30 ETH plus or crazy numbers of the highs. And a lot of them are kind of in the gutter now. It really did come as a surprise to me, or maybe not, but it does seem like collectors of PFPs don't really know what it is that they want. They want more value. They want the asset or the JPEG that they've acquired to kind of go up. But project teams have tried different ways, and no one's really happy with anything. With airdrops, with new collections, with games, like everything that they do, nothing kind of seems to work. So I don't know. We'll see. It's always interesting to see what ends up happening with these PFP projects. We'll see if they survive the bear. I'm not in PFPs too much, so yeah, we'll see. All right. Notable sales, or as I like to call it, pulga parada, segura comprada. That's kind of a joke on the flea market, in case people don't know. That's pretty popular through a song in Spanish. Yeah, so we had a 63 ETH Fidenza sale this past week. Pretty nice to see Gen Art always still continuing to be hot, especially Fidenzas. Fidenzas were trading around 90 ETH a couple months ago, so it seems like they are quote unquote more attainable. But it's still like $125,000, so up for debate. The next kind of sale that happened this past week is a V1 Punk. So there's a story for those not familiar regarding V1 Punks are the original punks, and then the ones that everyone's familiar now, those are like the V2 Punks. It had to do kind of with when punks got dropped a long time ago. That contract wasn't really supportive of kind of the behavior and actions that we want off of PFPs now, or current projects. So that's why we have V1 and V2 punks. V2 punks are the ones that everyone's kind of familiar with. So V1s are the original ones. So it's kind of rare to see a V1 punk sell for just as high as a V2 punk. Obviously, a V2 zombie punk would sell for a ton of money, but 45 ETH is still nothing to kind of laugh at. Yeah, so yeah, really good V1 punk sale. Depending on which side you are, whether V1 is still has meaning or value or significance, or V2, the original ones, that's up for debate, and that's like a whole separate episode, really. So yeah, nice little V1 zombie punk sale. And going back to the new era sale on base, with 70,000 at $18 a pop, that's over $1.25 million made in essentially like 24 hours, I think. So great job for DK, especially for Coinbase. I think they know the market well, and they knew what they do, and yeah, they got after it. All right, so what's on the horizon for this week in the future? So OXDGB launched a new collection of PFPs. There's about to be 70 of them getting dropped at 0.35 ETH. There's different pre-sales. So, there's like wave 1, wave 2, and then there's like open to the public and all that. So this one dropped this is going to drop on Monday. So what's kind of dope about all this is that it's built on the dynamic transient labs contract. So what that means is that if you're familiar with Doppelganger, similar work, but this is a pretty um, tech geek forward kind of PFP project. Um, that transient lab contract basically means that um, changes can get pushed from OXDGB, but the collector still has the right to either keep the original item that they bought or visual or accept the changes. So this allows the flexibility of the image to be adapted and changed from the actual creator, but the collector always has the right or the power to turn down that change. So good, nice checks and balances there. So pretty great stuff. Yeah. All right, and for all the shitheads out there, this is the current leaderboard. So for those that don't know or haven't joined, I have a Zeely community. Basically, you will get rewards for subscribing to the newsletter, reading my content, and just consuming it as a whole. So shout out Mag Vinyls and Seattle Dog and Altover.eth for jumping in and just going head first. This week's word for the Z League challenge is Noble, Noble, all lower caps. So yeah, Noble. Make sure to enter the weekly challenge, get your XP, and thanks again for liking and subscribing and commenting and enjoying my content. If there's any changes that you'd like for me to make, just let me know. Shoot me a DM on Twitter, here, wherever is easiest for you. And make sure to check out my newsletter where I dive deeper into kind of all the news that happened last week. Thanks again. Take care.